Nigeria goes to the polls. We'll have a live update. A Sierra Leone Ebola lockdown prompts clashes with police. And a reality star is named the new face of Calvin Klein. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Well, Nigerians are anxiously awaiting for election officials to count ballots and announce the results of 2 days of mostly incident-free voting to determine the country's president. The final vote tally is expected to be close between incumbent Goodluck Jonathan and former military ruler Muhammadu Buhari. Nigeria's Independent National Electoral Commission said late Sunday that it would begin at midday Monday the process of pulling together the vote totals from states. The election was supposed to be held solely on Saturday, but voting was extended into Sunday because of delays caused by technical problems.
The accreditation of number of people that they did before they started the election, it was more than 400 and something, and just 195, you said the ballot paper has finished. It was from there they now start wrangling up and down.
Tensions climbed in Rivers State Sunday as APC officials and supporters there called for the election to be redone in the state after alleged vote rigging. Atahiru Jega, the head of the country's electoral commission, said his office is investigating that and other complaints from other states.
We are concerned about what seems to be happening in Rivers State. There are many alleged cases of malpractices, and we certainly pay a lot of attention to investigating these. And if our staff are involved in any way or manner, obviously we will apply the appropriate sanctions and take the appropriate decisions as provided for by the electoral legal framework.
President Goodluck Jonathan, who has been in office since 2010 and whose People's Democratic Party has held the presidency since 1999, is facing a challenge from former military ruler Muhammadu Buhari from the All Progressives Congress. To win the election without a runoff, a candidate needs a majority of the nationwide vote while also securing at least 25% of the ballots in 2/3 of the country's 36 states on the capital. Security concerns had haunted the run-up to the election, with threats by Boko Haram Islamist militants to block the vote. Suspected Boko Haram fighters did attack voters in Gombe State Saturday, killing 24 people. The national vote was originally scheduled to take place in mid-February, but was delayed due to fighting and insecurity in the northeast, where Boko Haram has been waging a campaign of violence and kidnapping against the government since 2009. The government's inability to stop the insurgency was a major issue during the campaign. In recent weeks, a multinational offensive drove Boko Haram fighters out of the many towns they had controlled in the northeast. Well, the U.S. State Department has released a joint statement Monday from U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and U.K. Foreign Secretary Philip Hammond, praising Nigeria's largely peaceful vote over the weekend. The statement in part says, and I quote, "The Nigerian people have shown a commendable determination to register their vote and choose their leaders." Both the U.S. and Britain say they have seen no evidence of systematic manipulation of the election process, but they are concerned that the collation process, where the votes are finally counted, may be subject to deliberate political interference. Now, for the latest news on the election, we go live to Abuja, Nigeria, where VOA correspondent Peter Clote is standing by. Good evening, Peter, and tell us where we stand with the tabulation process at this moment.
Good evening, Vincent. Well, the tabulation has been going on well. I was at the International Conference Center just a few minutes ago after the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Atahiru Jega, said that after 8 states were presented with the Federal Capital Territory, which is FCT Abuja, the rest of the states are yet to officially be present to present there. So we will wait till a couple of hours when they arrive, then tabulation will continue. Then the rest of the vote will be certified and released.
Now, in some countries, the results will be released piecemeal and sometimes through the media. What is the situation in Nigeria? It looks like we're waiting until everything comes in.
Well, there are two parts to this. After the individual polling stations come up or finish voting, they tabulate and then give it to the presiding officer of the state. Now, the presiding officer of the state will send electronically the vote count in that particular state, and then would have to physically present a paper with the vote on it to compare the two to ensure that they tally. If they don't, then the Electoral Commission would have to investigate and then come up with what went wrong and then come up with solutions to address them. So that is the process right now. Only 9 states have so far complied with all the stipulations that are needed. Now the rest would have to comply with the rubrics as enshrined in the electoral protocol of the Independent National Electoral Commission, or INEC.
But even with those that are known, nobody is allowed to announce except the Electoral Commission, right? The Independent Electoral Commission.
Well, the law provides that it's only the Independent National Electoral Commission chairman, the presiding officer, that can declare the final outcome of the election. Now, in order to be safe, VOA is only towing the line of giving out results certified by the Independent National Electoral Commission. So that is what we are sticking with. There have been rumors of other polling figures being peddled around on social media platforms and all that, and that is creating some form of tension. And security officials have warned that the law only mandates the Independent National Electoral Commission to announce the results. So that is what is prevailing at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. We don't want to get caught up in all this. Now, what is the state of affairs in the Rivers State, where the governor there actually had said the results should be scrapped and a new election should be held?
There were voter irregularities and there were supposed arrests of some opposition and ruling party supporters because of some clashes. And the Independent National Electoral Commission Chairman Jiga said that they have set up a committee that is currently investigating those circumstances and reports, and then a committee will come up with recommendations. Then they will determine what action to take. So that is what we're waiting at the moment.
Thank you very much, Peter, and we look forward to seeing you back in Washington.
You're welcome.
Thanks for a good job. Viewers, Peter Close reporting live from Abuja in Nigeria. Now, for more perspective on the poll in Nigeria, I'm joined by Emmanuel Ogebe. He's an international human rights lawyer and an expert in bilateral U.S.-Nigeria relations. Mr. Ogebe, welcome to Africa 54 once again.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, now, very briefly, what's your assessment of the entire process?
Well, the process has certainly been slightly flawed in terms of logistics and organization. Nigeria needs to, get ready for showtime. We have notice about this every 4 years. That said, it has been relatively more peaceful than we anticipated. And I think that we must see it as a victory for Nigerians, not for a party, but for Nigerians.
So with a few of the problems here and there, would you also say that this is just a kind of the pain of adopting a new voting system? I mean, especially using the electronic biometric system.
Yes, certainly it is. And if we had gone with the option A4, which was where you would actually count people physically, the open ballot process where you would count people physically, we wouldn't have had to use all this technology. Yeah. But we're using technology to try and thwart the ability of people to forge results. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. So hopefully next time all the mistakes will have been identified and they won't be repeated. Yes. But the tension always builds up towards the announcement of the final result. Yes. Are you concerned that when this finally happens, we might be in a situation that perhaps we don't anticipate right now?
Well, that's always a concern, the morning after, the evening after, which is what we saw in 2011, where as the results were being announced, violence broke out in 12 states and almost 1,000 lives were taken. So in this situation, there are legitimate concerns. I don't understand why INEC is having to release the results at night, which allows mischief makers to be able to get out and do mayhem. I wish that they had made sure that this was done during the daytime. But certainly, this is a cause for concern. It's not the elections, it's what happens after the elections.
Yeah, but they're saying, well, they're going to let all the returning officers come to Abuja. So when they're announcing this, everybody can actually verify that these are the results from my area. Yes. So doesn't that legitimize the final vote?
Yeah, it does. It's good for the officials to be present. But again, this boils down to logistics. You know, why couldn't they have been able to bring in everyone on time? They had advanced knowledge that they needed to have all the officials present to present.
But why is it always that there's a perception of the electoral officials being partisan? And these people are independent, even by the very acronym of the organization. Actually, the name of the electoral body is independent. That means it's representative. Why would anybody suspect that they would cook up this result?
Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately, the history hasn't always been one of genuine independence. But under Jega, who has a reputation for integrity, the people believe that he's been independent this time around. But the thing about Nigerian politics is if the Pope Francis says today, God bless Nigeria, there are people who will accuse him of being partisan, that the way he said God bless favored one party over the other.
Yes.
But I do want to say that Nigerians are excited that for the first time they are putting stress on the government instead of the government putting stress on them. And the fact that no one knows how this will end shows that power is coming back to the people.
Since the Nigeria reverted back to democracy, do you also get the sense that this is perhaps the closest poll that we're going to witness in Nigeria?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the results right now, you have 5 states that the opposition is leading in, but you find
that is based on the polls, not the results.
No, based on the results.
Speculation.
The results that were released by INEC right now. Yeah. 5 states are the opposition is leading, but numerically, the incumbent party is leading by only about 19,000 votes. That's a very significant, an insignificant difference between both parties. Yeah. So this is as close as it gets.
At this very hour, it's really late in the day.
Yes.
What could be done to ensure that whatever the results, Nigerians will maintain peace and look forward to their next president delivering on their promises?
Well, that's a very good question. And, one of the things I'm doing is we're trying to start something called an Organization for Governmental Accountability. And we're saying, regardless of what anybody feels about the candidates, let's support whoever comes in and hold them accountable to deliver a good government. So I think Nigerians need to close ranks and realize we don't need to burn each other's houses. The people who died this weekend were unfortunate. No one else needs to die. And let's hold these people accountable to perform what they were elected to do.
Yeah, and if a person has a problem, of course, they can petition through the legal means in the court system. Thanks a lot, Emmanuel, for joining us and offering those insights. Now, Emmanuel Ogebe is an international human rights lawyer and expert in bilateral U.S.-Nigerian relations. Well, elsewhere in West Africa, clashes erupted at a food distribution point during a 3-day anti-Ebola lockdown in Sierra Leone. We get more in this report from Paul Chapman of Reuters.
Sierra Leone's 3-day lockdown was intended as an extra push to wipe out Ebola. In the capital, Freetown, there were signs it was breaking down after less than 2 days. Fighting erupted at this food distribution point. The food was handed out only in very poor areas, but the conflict erupted as some people complained they'd received nothing.
Not desperate and desperate for food because how the food they go.
People are desperate for food because of how the distribution is going. They're not satisfied. I think they won't be able to get any because of the number of people present. This has led to panic.
Police say peace was restored with the help of the military.
The number is so large, very, very, very large. And initially we were overwhelmed. But with the arrival of the military, we've been able to put the situation under absolute control.
Freetown is one of Sierra Leone's last Ebola hotspots, but such lockdowns have been condemned as counterproductive and heavy-handed by some charities. A similar campaign in Liberia's capital last year led to rioting in which a teenage boy died.
Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. And check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, as fighting and airstrikes consume Yemen, dialogue remains distant. Stay with us.
Wherever you are, Voice of America is on air, reaching more than 130 million weekly, worldwide, in more than 40 languages. Online, social media, and breaking news from around the world. On the go, dozens of new features on popular platforms with new apps and trending topics. Voice of America, on air, online, on the go.
Every song has a different meaning to each person that hears it and interprets it differently. Border Crossings is unique in that it lets the listeners decide what we're playing. But we bring in guests so that our audience has access to some of the biggest names in pop music today, and we reach out to the audience each and every day in different ways.
Welcome back. Airstrikes from a Saudi-led coalition continued overnight and into Monday in Yemen. Now the assault follows a pledge by Arab leaders to press their military campaign until Iranian-backed Houthi rebels surrender. Now the Houthis took over Sana'a in September and in recent weeks pushed south to the port city of Aden, where Abdi Rabu Mansour Hadi fled to last month in order to try to govern. Now, the Arab League Secretary General says that Mr. Hadi's legitimate government must be restored.
The Arab challenges have become obvious as Yemen was on the brink of the abyss, requiring effective Arab and international moves after all means of reaching a peaceful resolution have been exhausted to end the Houthi coup and restore legitimacy. And this will continue until the Houthi militias have retreated and handed over their arms.
Well, leaders at the summit also agreed to create a joint Arab military force to deal with security threats and terror groups in the region. And now the details must still be worked out in a process that is expected to take months. Previous attempts to create a unified command in the divided Arab world have failed. Now, for the latest, we turn to Sana'a-based journalist Zaid Al-Alaya, who joins us by phone from Yemen. Zaid, give us an update of this situation as we speak right now.
Okay, from the early hours of today morning, starting exactly at 2 o'clock in the morning today, the airstrike were launched on Sana'a, Sada, and part of Abiyan, and also Hodeidah. The launch of airstrikes on Sana'a continued until 9 o'clock in the morning. Until now, in the time, it's local time now, Yemen, it's almost 8 o'clock, and the sound of shelling, anti-crafts, and at 5 exactly, the Sana'a capital heard the most, or the loudest, strongest two explosions that targeted Al-Subaha Republican Guards military camp, and also Al-Nahdain, that is near the presidential palace.
Now, Zaid,
the most disastrous attack that took place today in Hajjah, in the IDP camp of Al-Mizraq, in an area of Harab near the Saudi borders, where more than 45 IDPs, internally displaced persons, were killed, and 290 people were injured. And most of these people were in a camp that is run by UNHCR office. And most of the people that were rushed into the hospital, either injured or dead, there were a lot among them were children and women.
Now, do we get the sense that the Houthis have actually taken over the areas that they have passed through? Are they in control?
The Houthis are in control in at least 8 governorates in the north, and now they are controlling. They're getting more places in Aden, Abyan, Shabwa, and in Taiz. They are not doing anything in Taiz, and they're not doing anything in Marib. These are the 2 places that Al-Houthis are not present in northern governorates, and Hadramaut is still far from all these things.
Now,
but the talk among all people, among everybody, is the massacre that took place in the IDP camps in Harab, in Al-Mizraq camp.
Do we know the total number of people who have been killed throughout these airstrikes and the fight back?
I got a quote from UNHCR office, UNHCR office, that the death toll has reached 40 people.
Wow, so sad. Zaid, we'll keep watching.
Many of them are children and women.
Well, thanks a lot for updating us. We'll keep watching this. Zaid Al-Alaya is a Sana'a-based journalist who's speaking to us live by phone from Yemen. Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, a big endorsement deal for a reality TV star. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariama Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In Nigeria, first results are expected in the hotly contested election on Tuesday as concern rises over polling problems and irregularities. Airstrikes from a Saudi-led coalition continue in Yemen following a pledge by Arab leaders to press their military campaign until Iranian-backed Houthi rebels surrender. In Sierra Leone, clashes erupt at food distribution points during a lockdown designed to curb the spread of Ebola. And finally, in Guinea, the retired French football player Luis Fernandez is to coach the country's football federation. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Performer Katy Perry is taking a break from new music. Now, the Grammy nominee stopped in Los Angeles to premiere her new concert movie, Katy Perry, the Prismatic World Tour. She took her time snapping photos with fans and posing with her puppy on the pink carpet. Katy Perry, the Prismatic World Tour is packed full of eye-popping visual effects from dramatic performances to irresistible pop tunes. The high-energy performance features Katy singing such hits as I Kissed a Girl and Dark Horse. Check out Katy Perry's Facebook page for more details. Next up, Kim Kardashian's little sister has nabbed another endorsement deal. Kendall Jenner has signed on as the new face of Calvin Klein. She is fronting a limited edition athletic and streetwear line called My Calvin's Denim Series. She also has a beauty contract with Estee Lauder. Kendall is the daughter of Bruce and Kris Jenner, who may be the most famous reality show parents in the world. The 19-year-old has recently walked in fashion shows in New York, Milan, and Paris. Well, and finally, Brazil has the second largest market for pet services, so it makes sense that the country has caught on to an American trend. City dwellers in Sao Paulo are increasingly living on their own in high-rise apartment blocks, turning to pets for company. But even the most loving pet owner needs a break every now and then. Seeing the business possibilities, a shrewd businessman opened a doggy daycare, and it's taken off. The facility offers specialized mood-controlling nutritional fitness and hygiene plans. The center takes in about 70 dogs each day, and is growing in popularity as owners notice the results. And that is what is trending today. Well, it's time now for a Monday Sports Report, and Sunny Young with the sunny side of sports, joins us now with the big news in the world of cricket. Hello, Sunny.
Hello, Vincent, and sporty greetings once again to our Africa 54 viewers. Here's a sunny side of sports salute to Australia, which beat New Zealand by 7 wickets to win its record 5th Cricket World Cup title. And speaking of records, the match at Melbourne Cricket Ground was played in front of more than 93,000 fans, a record crowd for a cricket match in Australia. New Zealand was playing in its first World Cup final, the culmination of a tournament that began February 14th and included African neighbors South Africa and Zimbabwe. The final was also the last one-day international for Australian captain Michael Clarke, who lifted the trophy for a jubilant Australian team. Clarke was asked if it was the right time to retire from ODIs.
Nah, look, it's the right time. Whether I got a duck or made runs last night, I don't think it would have mattered too much. I think the boys, we bowled so well, somebody in that batting order would have scored runs. So I'm extremely grateful for having the opportunity to play for Australia in the limit overs form, and like I say, it's the perfect time to leave this great game.
That was Australian cricket captain Michael Clarke. Now let's go to China, where runners from neighboring Kenya and Ethiopia once again dominated the annual IAAF World Cross Country Championships. The Kenyans celebrated victories in both the senior men's and women's races. Jeffrey Kamworor won the men's competition, while 19-year-old Agnes Tirop won the women's race. Agnes's gold marked the 300th medal Kenya has won over the years at the World Cross Country Championships, which gives you a pretty good idea how dominant the country has been. Meanwhile, Ethiopian athletes won the junior men's and women's races in China. I'm VOA's Sonny Young, and that's the sunny side of sports. Vincent?
Well, thanks a lot, Sunny, and be sure to watch the sunny side of sports every Monday and Friday right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC. And in the mornings today, Break Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching from all of us here in Washington. Have a good night. Let's go running. We are able to touch on things that are important to people on an everyday basis. Hello and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. In a lively half hour, news, sports, health, lifestyle information, comments from our viewers. Africa 54, the best for Africa, about Africa. Join us only on VOA.